Okay, this is so much for so little. This is in Genesis 25:19 through 34, and this is about Isaac having to wait a long time to have two sons. And at 60 years old, he had two sons at once, so they were twins. And you can imagine the excitement of all the servants in the camp when twins were born to their master. Soon everybody was talking about the two little boys, Esau and Jacob. They especially liked the story of how Jacob, who was born last, grabbed his little brother's heel in his own tiny hand. They were sure this was a sign that would become most important in his brother. Strangely, that is what happened. To understand the story properly, you must remember that in those days, the first boy to be born in the family became heir to twice as much of his father's property as his brothers would receive. Because Esau was born a few minutes before Jacob, the birthright belonged to him. Even today in some countries, the same custom is followed. Most of what the father owns goes to the oldest son when the father dies. It's called a birthright. All right, so we're going to change the page. And again, there's another pretty picture. It's his mother, and he's talking to his mother and seeing what she does. So, while being the firstborn in any family meant a great deal, being Isaac's firstborn meant much more. The child would inherit not only most of his father's possessions, but all of the blessings that God had promised to Abraham. As a result, Esau was a very fortunate boy, since he was lucky enough to be born first. 2/3 of Isaac's riches and honors would eventually be his. Surprisingly, however, the birthright didn't mean a thing to him. He wasn't even interested. All he thought about was having a good time out in the fields and woods with his bow and arrow. He was more interested in being known as a skilled hunter and good shot rather than being the firstborn son of Isaac. Jacob was different. He didn't like hunting. He prepared to stay around the camp, where his mother told him stories about his father and grandfather and the promises God had made to them. He especially enjoyed the stories about what happened in his birth when the Lord had told his mother, "The older will serve the younger." He didn't understand at first what this meant, but the more he thought about it, the more he wondered how he could get the birthright away from his brother. Since he stayed home more than Esau, his mother got to love him best. With one thing and another, the two boys gradually drifted apart. This was sad, for surely twins should love each other in a special way and all through life. How much better it would have been if they had played and worked together. Jacob could have shared the fun in the woods, and Esau could have stayed home a bit more to help around the camp and enjoy his mother's stories. And see, there's Esau out hunting. But it didn't work out that way. Soon both boys were meeting each other like strangers. One day, Esau, feeling very hungry, came home from the field. As he walked toward the tents, all he could think of was finding something to eat. And whom should he see getting the dinner ready but Jacob? Mother's boy doing the cooking now, he may have thought. But he didn't say it. He wanted food too badly. "What do you have there?" he asked. "Lentils," replied Jacob, continuing to stir the stew. "Give me some," Esau said. "I'm finished." But Jacob didn't care. Knowing that his brother was desperately hungry, he thought this might be his chance to get the birthright away from him. So he refused to give Esau any food unless Esau promised to trade with him. Trade? Esau asked in surprise. Trade what? How about selling me the birthright for a nice big bowl of lentils? It's a deal, said Esau carelessly, grabbing for the bowl without even thinking about what his words meant for the future. But Jacob didn't want Esau to be able to get out of the bargain. Swear to me first, Jacob said. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then he got up and left. So Esau despised his brother. Afterward, of course, Esau realized what he had done and how much he had given away for one dish of lentils. He had given up most of his father's riches and the honor of being head of the house after his father's death. He had also given up the privilege of being the one through whom God's promises would be fulfilled, through whom Jesus the Messiah would come. All this had no more value to him than a few cents worth of food. So much for so little. Esau despised his birthright, the Bible says. He had treated something that was very important spiritually as if it meant nothing. Now he could bring about no change of mind, though he sought the blessing with tears. He felt very sad about what he had done and begged Jacob to go back on the deal and leave things as they were before. But Jacob refused. See, there's Jacob tempting him with the stew. All of us, you and I, everybody have to be careful not to make the same mistake. We also have a birthright. We may be heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. If we want to be, all the treasures of heaven will be ours if we are faithful to God. He has said that he will gladly let us live forever with him, if only we love him and stay close to him. He has promised us so much. Let's make sure we never trade away these precious blessings for some little pleasure that will soon be gone. Our birthright is too rich a treasure to sell for a bowl of soup. So basically, that's what happened. See the little goat back there? And so he conned him out of his birthright just because he was hungry. So that's the first chapter of book 2. And